Okay, okay. Peace. My name is Jermaine Henry. I'm a mental health advocate, creator, MC, and welcome to Brave Enough Living with Chronic Depression. Today we're going to be exploring pre-logical thinking. So welcome to Brave Enough. If you haven't been here, welcome. Yeah. Also, I am a guy that is pretty like I'm silly at times, I'm serious at times, I'm like animated at times, a little monotone at times. I don't know fully what you're gonna get out of this. Um, you don't know fully what you're gonna see from me or hear from me. It may be a little bit unpredictable, but know the intention of this. This is a space for honesty, for real, raw truths about this journey that we're going on with mental illness. And specifically, I'm talking about persistent depressive disorder, which I was diagnosed at 30 years old. So for the last like 5 years, I've been dealing with the diagnosis and learning a bit more about it and doing different treatments, trying medication, doing meditation, physical activity, journaling, creativity, therapy, you know, um, yeah, a lot of different modalities that I've been trying out. And then this is another outlet for me to be able to be braver, or which I'll explain that acronym, even just to be brave enough, you know. And when we're talking about brave enough, we're talking about being braver. It's an acronym that I've been playing with, I've been developing over the last, I think since like 2015. Wow, 10 years. Um, it's not published anywhere. Like I'm literally still, it's a work in progress and development. Probably should write something, work with someone to write. I've been talking about that for a long time. Tangent over. So with Braver, it's an acronym, right? We talk about creating safe spaces or safer spaces, or they talk about brave spaces so we can have difficult, challenging conversations. Because inherently, if we're talking about mental illness, we're talking about something that is sensitive, that has stigma on it, there's taboo, but also it's so personal. It's something that I feel a lot of shame around. It takes a lot of courage and bravery. And even though folks have told me that I've literally been told I'm a walking safe space, and that's really humbling. And I appreciate that. And I hope, you know, maybe one day you can, you know, receive that kind of safe space for me. But for right now, in a braver space, in a brave to be brave enough, the acronym is bold, real, accountable, vulnerable, expressive. And we go to braver, bold, real, accountable, vulnerable, expressive relations. So I'm looking to build relationship in here, even though I dread relationships. So we'll go through it more. Yet relationships thrive my life and thrive our lives and humanity. And relationships are really what's going to help make the impact that I feel on purpose to make in this world. And that starts with sharing my own story, my own perspective. So let me get to my notes. Okay. In the last episode, I was talking about the additional symptoms for persistent depressive disorder that Dr. James McCullough talks about. And hey, if you read the last one, you also know how I am with pronunciations. I'm trying, not the best at it, but I'm trying my best. But we're talking about in his work with CBASP, which is a treatment, cognitive behavioral analysis systems of psychotherapy. And that's a treatment that actually is tailored and has been really successful with persistent depressive disorder. In his theory, in his in his framework, he also talks about additional symptoms. So I'm going to be going through some of those symptoms. Last week, we went to interpersonal avoidance, and I shared about my own personal fears that I have interpersonally and what I've been avoiding and what I have to be mindful of in making connections. and being more intentional about my interpersonal interactions, and trying to maintain, whew, and show up and be present. So presence is going to be an ongoing theme that we talk about forever. So today we're going to be continuing that journey, and we're going to be talking about the other symptoms that they talk about is this pre-logical thinking. So I'll even read just so it's easy, but thoughts that might feel true in the moment but aren't actually based on reality or evidence. So these thoughts tend to be rooted in emotions, past experiences, and survival patterns for depression. That's what it is. So to take away for myself, even when I'm thinking about this, like the embarrassment and shame, and you feel like, oh man, that's irrational thinking, that's dumb thinking, like, yo, what are you doing? Which, yeah, it's pretty common in this judgmental brain that happens. Um, However, what I want to say is these are learned survival habits with people that are living with chronic depression. So let's get away from the judgment of it and looking at the understanding and learning of, oh wow, that was the type of thinking that I was using in order to protect myself. That was the type of thinking that I was in when I was emotionally dysregulated and didn't even know. You know what I'm saying? Like emotionally dysregulated and not really knowing. So when we're talking about pre-logical thinking, and it's interesting today, I was watching a video from a psychiatrist, and he was talking about logic and depression, and how people that are really are very logical, even folks that have like a high IQ, are actually I think it's like 4 times more likely to be depressed. And he was talking about how logic isn't the way to try to address people with depression, because they'll find different ways of having their own logical thinking based off of their own assumptions and emotions, and be very like sound. It has seemed these logical fallacies may seem so true, but they're really strong arguments, strong reasoning. So I was like, oh wow, that's interesting, because like I don't think I'm the smartest person. I actually have quite a bit of insecurities around intelligence and smarts, whatnot. Yet the reality is reality. However, I do think I am pretty smart and pretty logical at times. Yeah, I've seen how I'm actually not as logical as I think. It's a lot of emotions. I'm also very aware. I'm aware of a lot of things, but that awareness can get clouded by my perceptions and my perspective that might be geared to something more negative at the time, and go from a pain lens or a negative lens. So typically these have been coping mechanisms. Like this pre-logical thinking is a coping mechanism for maybe an unsafe environment, or just like past experiences that I've had to learn how to deal with, right? And maybe it's past traumas. Who knows exactly what it is that have really put this negative filter, this tint in my thinking. And then there's a lot of science as well. Like again, this is not a clinical space. Maybe this is a good opportunity for our disclaimer. This is not a clinical space, right? However, I've experienced this, right? Like I'm really like this pre-logical thinking is mad. It has prevented me from doing so many things in my life, for showing up. So again, I am proud of myself for even showing up, being here on the third episode. Like big up, man. Big up, Jermaine. Like big up yourself. I did a whole 5 minute rant. I'm not sure if I put it into this video or not, but I was like speaking just like oh, similarly to right now, but not fully. Where I was just kind of like sharing where I was at that time, and I had to say that I was proud of myself, because I was gonna shut this off. I wasn't gonna to step up and do this, but I'm glad that I'm here. So Here are some examples of pre-logical thinking that I have to navigate at times. That I am like reprogramming and I'm getting this conditioning out of my mind of being someone that's chronically depressed. I know it's like, yo, this guy's smiling at me, this guy's talking all funny, cool, and you're depressed all the time, Jermaine, really? Yeah, actually. So as I'm trying to get control of my thinking, or to be able to like observe and choose my thoughts more carefully, um, I'm also exercising self-compassion, right? Is yes, these are thoughts that happen. Yet these are not my identity. These aren't my thoughts. These aren't me. These are thoughts that I have had and that I may have that I'm working through, right? And again, this whole podcast, Brave Enough, is for my own exploration, learning, unlearning, relearning, but also inviting you into this as well. So if this resonates for you, if this is helpful for you, that you can feel like you're not alone, and also that this helpful perspective, you know, solidarity. So this is some of the pre-logical thinking that I've gone through. And if you are new or if you've been here before, you know that this first bit, I'm kind of talking a bit because I really want y'all to like, let's get into the video before we get even more and more personal, because I get really personal, vulnerable in these videos. So hopefully if you stayed this far, that you're a decent human being, that you're a kind human being, and that you're someone that is in need of this or is just really supportive. And thank you if that's who you are. Amani, peace. So here's some of my real life examples. So I'm going to share about um, the statement. Then I'm going to share about like some of the fallacy in the pre-logical thinking, and how that fallacy ties into chronic depression. Then we're going to talk some more. Then we're going to talk some more, and then I'm going to talk about some reframing of these thoughts. All right, so it's going to start out kind of doom, hopeless, these thoughts, but we're going to get to a place where there's some more hopefulness and some strategies towards that, right? So I like to try to give that balance, even though life isn't always like that. Life doesn't always end with a bright story. You know, it doesn't always have a bow on it. It is what it is. All right. So what we're going to do, if I just remembered as I took that deep breath, is we're going to take some deep breaths to get grounded. And notice, I'm going to also notice in myself, if there is some grounding in this video for you and for myself going forward after we take some time to be mindful and to ground. So I'm going to take a deep breath in. Hold and out. Another one in and out. Another one in and sigh out. All right. I'm going to share some of the pre-logical thinking that I go through with someone that's living with chronic depression. I'm too depressed to be around people. I'll damper the mood, so I'd rather not go. Now this assumes my presence automatically harms others without testing whether that's true. So imagine having that thought, and again, it's out of emotion. It's not out of like logic, but that's some of the pre-logical thinking. So that's one. I don't have anything new to talk about. People will think I'm boring. And this pre-logical, I'm thinking for other people. I'm telling other people in my brain. I'm saying how they're thinking already. I'm making these assumptions. So it predicts this rejection based on an assumption about conversational value. Whew. And that's real. And I'm gonna. This is a podcast, so this is long form, right? So You could skip, you could not be or not. I got to remind myself of that because I want to just get through the content, make sure I give all the value. It's like, yo, fam, this is for me first. All right. So, I remember being in university, um, and I was with some brothers who were really powerful leaders at our university and our community, and they were spiritual leaders. And I used to be around them a lot. I was a part of the crew, right? And they were doing different events, doing workshops, doing different things that are going on. And I'd be around, right? I'd be around for it. Yeah, I always had this doubt in my mind because sometimes I'd just be very quiet. I'd just be in the cut, literally. And one time, one of my friends, he he shared with me. He's like, "Yo, your presence is enough," and that really impacted me. Shout out to Zay because it was like, "Yo, I'm here like, oh man, I'm not sharing enough. I'm not giving enough. I'm not talking enough. It's awkward here, awkward here." And they share with me, it's like, "Yo, your presence is enough." And there's something about that, about realizing that I don't need to have something new to talk about all the time for folks. My very presence is enough to be there. And it's odd that I'm getting emotional right now. Hmm. And we're going to do something new. This hasn't happened in the pod yet. Really going to try to feel this emotion through of where I'm feeling, where I'm feeling it a bit, even in my throat now, of my presence being enough. Why is that emotional for me? because, because I often feel unworthy, like I'm not enough, and that I'm not worthy of being around. Because I'm not living up to the expectations that I have for myself. It's not like other people may have those expectations, but people do see a lot of greatness in me, and and I've shared how the impact that I've made in their lives. You know, despite me feeling like, what I have to really offer. Like, I know it in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, I'm aware of. I have a pleasant personality. I'm a person that is sincere. I'm genuine. I'm pretty down to earth. I care. Um, I'm about a cause. Yet, when I look at myself, when I look at my potential, I look at my mission, what I've tried to do, what I'm trying to do with within mental health, within the space, with creating change in the world, even as a creative, I look at all those things. I look at my relationships, and I actually see all of my lack. I see where I don't show up. I see where I don't work hard enough. I see where um, I've had dreams, I've had goals, and not lived up to them at all. And I've tried and tried. I show up in people's lives, I have relationships with them, and then I may ghost or not work out. And all of this, spiral thinking, a lot of these beliefs and assumptions that I have, there's not a lot of, they're real unorganized, not really that clear. And even though I've even taken time to journal at times, with this depressive thinking, this pre-logical thinking, I can lose sight of perspective of of what's real, my reality, of like who I really am. So yeah, that was interesting. I don't know where we got with it, but apparently I'm modeling, he's trying to model processing your emotions in real time. Still so much judgment. Let's go further. I'm going to go into some more pre-logical thinking. Why try again if I'm just going to fail? So this treats past outcomes as guaranteed future results, ignoring my growth or the different circumstances that may have happened to make something not succeed or something fail based off of what expectation standards that I had or others may have had at that time. So it's like, I really got to check these thinking, right? I got to check the assumptions that are underneath it. I don't have the work ethic for my dreams. Oh, why even attempt anymore? So when I get in a deep depression, a double depression, those things, that these thoughts are real. I'm like, why even try anymore? I'm a dreamer. If you don't know, you're new to this. I got this book, I Believe Dreams, a vision guide. Be the author of your own legacy, and it's a book. It's like a self help type book. It's a book that goes through my own journey, right, towards my dreams as an MC, as a social entrepreneur, as like someone that is using hip hop to make change, but also goes through and talking about my healing journey, my mental health journey at the same time. So it's going through my creative journey, mental health journey in this book. Yeah, I don't know. I maybe sold 100 of those books or something like that. um, it wasn't necessarily a huge success. Um, Yet it was of value and it was supportive for my own experience. Um, but also I have gotten some feedback from some folks that it's been helpful for them as well. But again, like going into this thinking of like, why even pursue my dreams if my dreams are just going to flop? Or, and especially because my dreams, a lot of my dreaming, and I've done all this was through my youthful ambition, and then now being 30 years old, diagnosed with persistent depressive disorder. It's like, yo, I don't even know if I can dream anymore. I feel ashamed, embarrassed to dream. Whew, this is an emotional episode, y'all. What's going on? So yeah, I'm gonna go through some more of these. Wow, I guess this is helpful still because I'm actually processing these emotions and I'm G checking these assumptions and beliefs that I have with these. Oh wow! All right, I don't know what's gonna happen with this edit. We'll see. But if we go back to, I don't have the work ethic for my dreams. Why even attempt anymore? The fallacy and the thinking in this is, and this is why this fallacy, it globalizes a temporary state into a fixed trait, cutting off possibility. So I may be in a temporary depressive state of mind, yet I will close off all possibility of me even trying to attempt to pursue my dreams because I'm in this depressive state of mind. So that's why it's important to like, for me to just state some of this thinking that's happening, say it out loud and check it. You know what I mean? Another one is, I'm supposed to be inspiring and empowering, yet I'm constantly depressed and pessimistic, right? I shared that one. So how that fits And the fallacy behind that is hold an impossible standard for advocacy. It assumes I must be symptom free to be credible. Yeah, for me to even be an advocate, for me to be here, some of my thinking is like, yo, I need to be symptom free in order for me to be an advocate. What? Nah, bro. You're a mental health advocate, and some of the strength that's in there is the fact that you have lived experience. And based off my lived experience, that's the value that I'm sharing with folks. That's what qualifies me, is my lived experience. You know, that's what qualifies me to be an expert, is I'm an expert of my own story. So it's constant reminders I got to put for myself. I'm mentally ill. How can I advocate for mental health when I struggle to stay stable? This confuses vulnerability with disqualification, overlooks that lived experience can strengthen advocacy. I just said that, and that's what it is. So I'm not good at relationships, so why try? I'm not good at relationships, so why try? Yeah. Permanently labeling myself based on past patterns, avoiding opportunities to build skill and connection. That's that's the tough thing about having these pre-logical thinking and this cognitive distortions, right? And when I talk about like the cognitive distortion, I'm just thinking about the globalized thinking, the mind reading, you know, it's really distorted in just how I'm thinking about things. Let's go on. I got two more, and then we're gonna go forward. I'll never get better, so why try? Absolute hopelessness closes off any alternative story about the future. Again, another another fallacy. If I get too much attention, they'll see I'm an imposter. This predicts exposure and rejection, assuming current self is inadequate. Yeah. Like and this is a weird thinking and not helpful thinking. But I'm thinking that if I get too popular, if I get too much attention, like if I actually quote unquote make it, how am I gonna handle that? Like people are just gonna see that I'm really a fraud and I'm an imposter, that I don't really know what I'm doing, and that I'm not as stable as I would love to be able to handle all of this. Like this is some of the thinking is like I'll self sabotage my whole career, my whole success, because I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm stable enough, mentally ill. People will see and expose. People reject me. Like this is some of the pre-logical thinking that gets in the way of living, of showing up. Now, here's the thing: these are thoughts. They may feel real to me. They may feel real to you. And something that I've been meaning to say over and over in this series is that my version and my perspective and how I experience chronic depression may be different from someone else. So that's an important thing to share. That there may be things that resonate with you with my story, my experience. There may be things that don't. So don't take it all, and also don't discount my experience just because you haven't had that experience. So I think it's important that I share that, but also important that like these feel real to me at times, and they're not necessarily real. But I got to G check these thoughts. They're not facts. They're feelings rooted in old patterns, old fears, old wounds, those type of things. So that's why it's valid for me to really take them for true, because, past experiences have really led to conditioning, to learning to think like this. But now I have the opportunity, I have some more space to unlearn and then to condition new forms of thinking. All right, so breaking these patterns. So These patterns in this pre-logical, one, they assume conclusions without current evidence. Two, they often jump to the worst case scenario, like they're mad. And they keep me in this cycle of hopelessness. And then I'm feeding these neural pathways. This neuroplasticity is like it's forming more into like these negative thought patterns, right? So I'm trying to interrupt those, but first I have to like acknowledge. I was talking to my therapist, and I was really getting down on myself, and I was telling him like, I'm like, yo, like, yeah, people may have these perceptions of me, but like, I'm with me all the time. Like, I have this objective view of myself. And he was like, do you though? I was like, I'm like, yeah, because like logically, when I think about and I look, I'm with myself 24/7. And when I think about what I do based off of this, and that, he's like, yeah, but like, no, you don't have objective view. You don't have a full perspective of what's going on. Others might have actually maybe a clearer view of you at certain times because you lose perception of who you are to emotions. You tend to have like negative thinking towards yourself. So nah, like he really and again like I'm judging myself for not even sharing exactly what he said, but he was really talking about like, yo, bro, just chill, fam. Like you are so adamant of being negative about yourself. Nah, you have some distorted thinking as well. And it's valid because you've had because of conditioning and whatnot. But bro, your logic isn't sound. Like you are talking bad about yourself. You're seeing yourself in such a negative light, and that's not who I see. That's not the person that I see right now. I was like, dang, guess you're right. So what he was doing, what I was actually going to share is like reality testing as well. Sometimes we'll do reality testing and then trying to have some self compassion. Self compassion practices is another important tool for like reframing all this judgmental thoughts to have more empathy, which I'm working more and more about. So that's what we're going to do in this next exercise as I'm looking to finish out this video. Or these are some steps. So when you're having this pre-logical thinking, if you can catch the thought, name it without judgment, right? I'm too depressed to be around people. I'll damper the mood, so I'd rather not go. Catching the thought. Check the evidence. Ask, what's the full picture? Is this always true? I'm depressed and I'll damper the mood, so I shouldn't go. Mm, First of all, I'm not always depressed. Sometimes when I'm around, I'm a vibe. I can be a real vibe. Um, I may be depressed in that moment, but that's not true. Also, I've been depressed and been in situations where I've still been the life of a party or I've contributed in positive ways, even being depressed and not dampered some of the moves. So I guess that's wrong. So it's not always true. And then change. So change the script. Replace with something more balanced. So I have that I'm too depressed to be around people. I'll damper the mood. So I'd rather not go. Might be something that I might say. Example of that would be I'm too depressed to be around people. Might be I might feel low, but connecting could actually lift me up. I might be low, but connecting could actually lift me up. Maybe or maybe not, but like just giving more space as opposed to I'd rather not. Like this is the logic, this is the thinking, so this is the outcome as to for maybe maybe it might lift me up. It actually might lift me up. Just giving that space, just to be present enough to make some more choices, to be aware. make some choices. So that's really helpful. So I'm going to go through a bunch of these for myself, just for me to reframe the cognitive distortion, the pre-logical thinking, negative thinking, or it doesn't even always have to be negative, but the thinking that gets in the way of living and fully showing up and being here. All right. All right. Why try again if I'm just going to fail? Failure is feedback, not prophecy. Each try is a step closer to learning and improving. I don't have the work ethic. I don't have the worth ethic for my dreams. Why even attempt anymore? Work ethic can grow. I can start small today and build momentum over time. I'm supposed to be inspiring and empowering, yet I'm constantly depressed and pessimistic and anxious. My struggles don't ease my impact. Oof, wrong. But look, my struggles don't erase my impact. Being real about my journey can inspire others even more. Hopefully, we'll see. I'm mentally ill. How can I advocate for mental health when I struggle to stay stable? Jeez. Living with mental illness gives me insight others can't get from a textbook. My advocacy is grounded in truth and experience. I'm not good at relationships, so why try? Relationships are skills, not fixed traits. I can learn, practice, and grow in them. I'll never get better, so why try? Healing isn't always about better. It's about managing, growing, and finding meaning along the way. If I get too much attention, they'll see I'm an imposter. Being noticed doesn't mean I'm exposed. It means I have an opportunity to share my real self. Whew. So pre-logical thinking doesn't mean you're broken. It means your brain is doing what it needs to do or what it's learned to do to keep you safe. But safety back then might not be what you need now for freedom. So sometimes you got to cultivate a braver space. I'm going to invite you for yourself is for you to journal. What's one pre-logical thought that you might have had this week? And what's a healthier response that you can take next time? Whew. This has been another episode. This has been the most vulnerable episode, I think, yet. Thank you if you stayed to the end. Appreciate you. Much love. Thank you to myself for showing up. And big ups. And this is just a reminder, y'all. It's not about perfection. It's about showing up. And I showed up again. And I feel, honestly, the crying and going through it and processing, actually, I feel a little bit lighter coming out of this episode. So I'm grateful for that. Very grateful for that. So this has been Brave Enough, Living with Chronic Depression. This joint's been on pre-logical thinking. Yo, I've been making a lot of mistakes and I'm accepting it. We here. Because you know what? I'm brave enough. And so are you. One love, y'all. Till next time, my name is Jermaine Henry, main man. One love.